What's up, guys? This is Living Legends Outdoors, and I'm Coy Moore.
And I'm Hunter Embray, and we're here to tell you the story behind the legend we call Droptine.
So it all starts out in 2014, and we had a picture of a Big Ten hanging on the south part of the ground that we were hunting on. And in bow season, he actually came at 2 yards under my stand, and I decided to pass on him, and he was, I don't know, probably 150s.
I'd have to say he's probably closer to 150s, 155.
Yeah. And
probably as a 4-year-old.
Yep, and I passed him in late muzzleloader then too, and so did my dad.
So after the 2014 season, we started looking around for that deer specifically because we knew he was going to grow into something unbelievable. Well, in 2015 season, disappeared. We didn't have any pictures of that deer, never once saw him. We hunted hard for him on that south part of the ground. And then we went into 2016 season, high hopes of hopefully he's going to show up, and I think right around November was our first picture of him, wasn't it?
Yep, and that's when we realized that it was the same deer from 2 years prior too.
Yeah, all of a sudden he had a drop time, about an 8-inch drop time.
Fast forward to late muzzleloader season, and we actually get to see him again, fortunately, and he was coming in, 40 yards away?
40 to 60 yards away at the time.
Yep. And he caught my dad's win that was sitting over in the same stand that he missed him in bow season, and you can kind of tell the story of what was happening.
Yeah, it was actually my turn to be in front of the camera that morning, and got set up, and we were sitting there, and I was actually about ready to fall asleep. It was a beautiful morning, and Coy hit me and said, "Hey, big buck," and we didn't know what deer it was, but he was running with 4 other does, and he came down across, and I had him in the scope, and he wouldn't stop, and finally he stopped for me, but he stopped right behind a tree at like 130 yards, and never did, could get a shot off on him. And about 10 minutes after that, he went up the hill from us, still couldn't get a shot, and got his picture taken on one of the cameras. That's where he kind of was living at that time too, was up there.
And then we never saw him again after that whole year.
That whole year, we spent the last 3 weeks of that season, hunting him hard, no other deer. So in 2017 comes around, we had even higher hopes for drop time. Expecting maybe even a 200-inch deer on our hands, and we started in hard in August, throwing in stands. I think we had all of our stands hung in August, trying to pattern him, and before we knew it, we had velvet pictures of him, and he was all of about the same as what we thought he was going to be.
And then November finally came around, and we were getting even more pictures of him than before. And we finally realized where he was mainly bedding and where he'd like to cross over from field to field. And my dad actually had 3 times that he had him within 20, 30 yards, but he was chasing a doe, just running all over the place. Even the neighbors said that they had him at 20-some yards too.
Yeah, the neighbors had him running through lanes at 10, 15, 20 yards all morning for almost 2 hours and never could get one in.
Yep.
It's just one of those things that we also, we had him patterned, and we'd get a picture of him down on one camera spot, and so we're like, "Okay, we're gonna get down in there." So we get down in there, and next thing you know, he's at the different spot with it on the camera. So then we'd go there, and so then we started. All right, so let's not go there. Let's go back down here. Well, then when we go back down there, he'd be back up there.
Yeah.
So it's just a cat and mouse game the whole time through bow season with him, and there's really no other deer that we hunted at all this year except for him.
Yep, we pretty much went after him every single time. And then finally, we actually got good footage of him. Actually, on Thanksgiving Day.
It was on Thanksgiving Day.
And it was the same day I shot Keith's 10.
Yep.
And we actually saw him before Keith's 10.
Yeah,
so
we saw him early that morning. Actually, right in front of the stand, like 60, 70 yards.
Yeah.
And he was with a hot doe,
Yeah.
and he was just going away from us. And we knew it was a big deer out in that field. We just couldn't get him over to us. We grunted. We rattled. Just couldn't get him to come.
Yep. And actually it looked like he was coming right to us for a while. With that doe looked like she was coming at us.
Yeah, right at the, it was like, 8:30, 9 o'clock. He came out with her, and, you'll be able to see the video of this deer. He just is a giant.
Yep.
And we thought there for a minute she was going to lead him right to us, and then they went back and went to a different way. So fast forwarding through shotgun season, lived this year, and into the start of late season muzzleloader, and take it away.
So On the second day of the season, my dad and I went into mainly pretty much where we knew he was bedding. And I kind of went a little bit away where we saw him last year, where Hunter had that chance at him. And my dad said he saw 2 big bucks going in the CRP field that morning, and the wind was supposed to change to an east for the next 2 days after that. And
you can't hunt that on an east.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so we had it as the last chance to get him before the last 4 days before the wind changed. So
so we decided just to go in there that evening, just give it a chance. We'd never really hunted this spot before. We went in right after him, and all of a sudden I see a deer out in the field coming along, and this is literally like 3 minutes before shooting light is over.
And the whole video situation, I was in Missouri visiting girlfriend, and and so he was videoing by himself, and I mean, if 3 minutes before shooting light, it would have been a little bit shaky video anyways. So this is why we're doing this now.
Yep.
But
and really, you weren't there, but the shot I had, I literally only had 1 lane in the field and 1 lane in the timber, and it would have been hard with the camera light and with all the branches coming through.
I mean,
so he finally, I see a deer coming, I could see his right side, which isn't the side with all the drop tines, and I'm like, that's a pretty big deer, I don't know what deer it is. And finally he just turns, and all of a sudden you just see drop tines.
Beautiful drop tine on it.
Things just hanging off his head. And finally he just starts walking, and I had to literally yell at him to stop him in this lane. And I stop him, and there's 1 branch going right across his heart, but we sight our guns in 2 inches high at 100 yards. And I was like, well, if I aim right at that branch on his heart, it's going to hit in the middle of his body. And I pulled the trigger, and he kind of like hopped up, and he jumped, and he like ran 40 yards.
Which is a great shot. Normally when they jump like that, I mean, when they jump straight up in the air after you shoot, I mean, normally it's a double lung, good shot.
Yep. And then he run 40 yards, and I could see him in my scope. And all of a sudden I saw him like start hunching over, and I was like, well, I better hurry up and reload here, because I literally got a minute or 2 left.
Yeah.
And I hurry up, reload, the fastest I've ever reloaded in my life, because this is a giant,
just like, a big deer,
just a buck of a lifetime. And I just pretty much hightail it down this hill at him. And I get out to the open field, and I'm scanning with my scope, and I couldn't even see anything. And I was looking around, couldn't find anything. Finally, all of a sudden I see rack in the CRP, and Droptine is dead.
And that's just the storyline of one of the biggest deer, I mean, that we've hunted.
Yeah.
I mean, me and you together, we've hunted. I mean, there's plenty of big deer on this wall, but I mean, starting this show, it was, let's kill Droptine. I mean, let's try to get Droptine. And kind of sucks that we didn't get him on video, but I mean, 172 inch deer. I mean, he was a little bit shorter than he was last year. We did figure out that he's probably on his down.
It's a good thing. I think this is the year that we had to take him, or he'd start going down.
And it would have been really downhill. So we're glad we got him this year.
Yep.
Big congrats to Coy. But hopefully we get the mount in here soon. You guys will be able to see it.
Yep.
And stay tuned for a bunch more videos, and hopefully I can put something down this season.